The Ukrainian state agency in charge of the Zaporizhzhia nuclear plant says operations at the Russian-occupied facility have been fully stopped as a safety measure. Engineers have shut down the sixth and final reactor amid growing concern at the risk posed by fighting in the region. This comes as a sweeping Ukrainian counteroffensive has driven Russian forces out of dozens of communities in eastern Ukraine. Kyiv says it has liberated around 2,000 square kilometers of its territory in recent days, and the operation is ongoing around cities including Izyum, Balakliya and Kupiansk. Russia says it's withdrawing some of its forces from the region.
On roads across the Kyiv region, scenes of destruction and defeat. Russian military vehicles lie attacked and abandoned. Ukrainian forces have claimed a major victory, advancing swiftly across swathes of enemy-held territory, capturing equipment and cutting Russian supply lines. In the northeastern city of Balakliya, the blue and yellow flag is flying once again, to the surprise of locals who lived through the Russian occupation.
When the Ukrainian forces came, we honestly didn't expect it. When I saw our Ukrainian soldiers with those patches, with the Ukrainian flag, oh, it was great. Great.
People are happy that liberation has arrived, that people are back in their homeland, happy that there's no more Russian occupation, no more oppression, no more basements, no Secret Service. But at the same time, people are traumatized by the occupation.
Ukraine's counter-offensive has been bolstered by foreign support. On a visit to Kyiv, Germany's foreign minister promised to keep sending weapons.
The international arms deliveries, but above all, the courage and the will of the Ukrainians to fight, have led in recent days to the liberation of further territory. And with that, the ability of people to return to their lives.
But Russia is framing things differently. After claiming to send reinforcements to Kyiv, the defense ministry said its withdrawal from the region was a strategic shift.
To achieve the goals of the special military operation to liberate Donbass, a decision was made to regroup Russian troops stationed in the Balakliya and Izyum regions to bolster efforts along the Donetsk front.
Explosions struck in Ukrainian-held parts of Donbass following Russia's regrouping. Missiles also fell across Kyiv in the hours after the operation. Ukraine remains on alert for more Russian retaliation.
And for the latest on Ukraine, we're joined now by DW's Nick Connolly in Kyiv. Nick, this sounds very much like a rout by the Ukrainians, but can they hold on to the territory they're recapturing?
Well, so far in this war, the Ukrainian forces have done a lot more defending than attacking, and they've shown that they can hold those Russian forces back. Basically, all the advances we've seen by Russian forces in recent months have been at a kind of pace of a few hundred meters a day at most, a few kilometers a week. And now they've done the total opposite. They've really made gains of dozens of kilometers in the space of a few days. Seems like they worked out that there was a weak point in Russia's kind of forces along Ukraine's front lines in the south, and in Donbass in the east. They were more in the way of professional Russian soldiers. Here near Kharkiv, most of the forces there were people who'd been basically ganged into fighting for Russia. These people from Luhansk, Donetsk, often without military training and with worse equipment. And it seems like Ukraine has been able to really effectively take advantage of that weakness. And, you know, after all this time where we were all expecting all the action to be in the south near Kherson, and certainly all the talk was of Kherson, suddenly we're seeing the big gains in Kharkiv, in a totally different part of the country.
Yeah, it sounds almost like a bit of a bait and switch. Let me just move to the Zaporizhzhia nuclear reactor we were talking about. The generator's operator announced this morning that the last reactor has been stopped. Does that make it safer now?
Yes and no. So if there is a direct hit, then obviously the reactor being switched off is of an advantage, is going to produce less of a threat. But the really important issue now is keeping electricity supply to the station going for the cooling that is crucial to the safety of that plant. So basically that last reactor was only operating for the plant's own needs. It wasn't supplying anyone else with electricity. Now there is a new or a restored connection to the Ukrainian grid that allows that power to keep the cooling in place to come in from outside. But those have been destroyed in the past. If that happens again, they'll be totally dependent on emergency diesel generators, and there are lots of question marks over whether there will be enough diesel and the supply will be regular enough to ensure the safety. So this is still a very dangerous situation, and we're not any closer to some kind of UN peace deal, peacekeeper deal rather, that would see this zone being demilitarized. This is Europe's biggest nuclear power plant on the front lines with shelling daily.
And just briefly, Nick, as we were saying, the German Foreign Minister, Annalena Baerbock, was in Kyiv Saturday after all kinds of months of requests from the Ukrainians for more weapons. Did she deliver?
Lots of warm words from Annalena Baerbock, and you got the sense that she would have wanted to announce new deliveries, but she basically was left with reiterating old pledges, saying that these would now finally be forthcoming and arriving in Ukraine. But on Ukraine's main demand of Leopard tanks, former German tanks that have been sitting in the warehouses unused, no progress there, and some quite stark language from her Ukrainian host, who was pretty adamant that Ukraine needed them yesterday rather than sometime in the future.
Okay, DW's Nick Connolly in Kyiv with insight on the war. Thanks for that.